Okay, thank you very much. Welcome back, everyone. Thank you for your patience. We will resume our PM session. An announcement was made that you would have to tune in into our PM session for the YouTube streaming. Before we proceed, I would like to announce that you have the call-in information and connecting information. If you're having difficulty in connecting via the WebEx, call in to the number 416-915-6530. The access code is 133-061-6797, and please do call in with your registered number with us. We will now proceed with the remaining of the agenda. Just to recap, we have item 8, item 11, item 13, item 14, item 19, item 21, and item 22 that we will be discussing during the PM session. So let's proceed with item number 8. Item number 8 is an application at 321 Blantyre Avenue, and it is to construct a rear basement addition with a walkout deck on the main floor. We have 2 variances before us. In terms of the registered participants, we have the agent Stephanie Haddad. Stephanie, are you online with us?
Through the chair, the agent is not online, however, the owner is.
Okay, thank you. Rebecca and Chris, are you online with us?
Yes, we are.
Thank you. We had 2 interested parties, Bernd Paisler and Matthew Silwin. Are you online with us? Bernd?
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you. And Matthew, are you here with us?
Yes, I am. I'm in a car and it's noisy, sorry.
Okay, so I would request you to mute while you are not speaking. And of course, when you're speaking, you'll have to unmute, and we'll have to live with the car background music. Okay, so members of the committee, do you have any questions for Stephanie, or would you like to have a presentation on this item?
I do have a question, and it's actually, I believe, Byrne is representing on behalf of Stephanie, is what he indicated when we were vetting.
Okay, Bernd, are you representing Stephanie?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Thank you thank you, Member M. So Bernd is representing Stephanie, who's not online, but we do have the owners. Any questions for
Yes,
Bernd?
sir, I realize that there was a zoning waiver that was issued with regards to this application, and I'm just trying to understand. I believe that variance number 1 would not be required considering it's a semi-detached house, but, you know, we're prepared to deliberate regardless, but I just wanted to advise when it's a shared wall such as that, typically there is no south side, there'll be no side yard setback where there is that attached house.
Yeah, actually, the zoning examiner for buildings said that we had an encroachment on that side and that we had to deal with that. And she didn't accept I don't know if she's new or something, but she said we needed the setback there rather than a party wall. Normally, it would have been a party wall. Everything would have been fine. There would have been no setback required on that side.
Okay.
So that's how it got to that.
Okay, I was just trying to clarify why it was before us today.
Yeah,
But
we
I'm
actually
prepared
had
to move
change-
forward with it, and discuss it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that clarification. Any questions for Bernd at this time? Or the owners? No questions? Bernd or Rebecca and Chris, would you like to say anything before we proceed with hearing the concerns from Matthew?
Well, basically, I'd just like to say that we're going for that setback of the 0.45 on the south side, and then the other thing relates to the other variance relates to the height of the deck, and that's because the property slopes from the front to the back up. It's a difference of about 2.28 meters, so that makes the whole first floor or the full basement basically out of the grade, right? So it's a walkout on the back.
Okay.
Paying
And-
$2,000 for this?
And regarding the urban forestry, we have gotten a permit. The owner informed me that she got the permit, urban forestry.
Okay, so there were two conditions. One was securing a permit, and then the other, that's it. That's one condition. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, and that permit has been secured. Okay, thank you very much for that. Any further questions? No? Okay. So, Bernd, we do not have further questions, on this application for you. We will now move on to speaking with Matthew, who has some comments on this. Bernd? No, Bernd is the applicant. It's Matthew Sylvan, who is the interested party registered with us. Matthew, please go ahead.
Yep. Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes, absolutely. Please go ahead.
Okay. Sorry again. I'm mobile here. Yeah. I mean, notionally, we're not against the application, which is that variance on the south side of I think 45 centimeters, bringing it basically to the property line. I have really maybe just a totally operational question, which is. As it happens, our sewer line runs right along, basically in that variance, right, touching basically the property line. I just wanted to make sure that our sewage lines would actually remain operational through the construction, just because, especially now with COVID-19, we're working from home. A few hours without plumbing is not unreasonable, but days or weeks would not be reasonable. So really, it's an operational question. That's all I had.
Okay, thank you for that question, Matthew. Unfortunately, I can't answer, or the committee can't answer that question, and we will have to confirm that with the applicant. Just so you know, before we move on to the applicant to respond to it, do you have anything further to add?
No, I think that's it for me. Thank you.
And you have no concerns with the variances itself?
Correct.
Okay, thank you very much. So Matthew had more of a functional, sort of an operational question. Thank you, Matthew, for that. We will now move to Bernd. Bernd, you heard the question from Matthew. Could you provide a clarification?
Well, I mean, if there's any issues, I'm sure, like when they're doing the construction, I don't think there's going to be any problem with the sewer line running there. They're going to protect it when they're doing the construction. I don't see it as being a problem.
Okay, we leave it at that because these matters are beyond our jurisdiction anyways, and those are more sort of, administrative and operational issues. So we leave it in your hands. You heard Matthew, he's the neighbor, he will be affected. So I would strongly recommend that you and your clients work with Matthew, and if there's any concern, please work it out together.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions for Bernd at this time? None? Okay. If there are no questions, may I please have a motion? And we do have a condition for urban forestry.
Madam Chair, I would like to support this application. I move the motion for approval subject to the condition of urban forestry.
Okay. All in favor of this motion?
Seconded.
Seconder, please.
I will second that motion.
Member Macaulay seconds the motion. All in favor? Motion carries. Your application has been approved, subject to condition of urban forestry.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we will now move to item number 11. Item number 11 is at 116 Presley Avenue. This is an application to construct a new two-story, single-family residential dwelling, while the existing dwelling will be demolished. And we have before us 3 variances, correct? Okay. In terms of the registered participants, we have Marhad Mahdawoodi Noorzadeh. Are you online with us?
Hello, good afternoon. Yeah, this is Mehrdad Mahdawoodi Noorzadeh.
Okay, thank you very much. We have also online with us Mahfouzul Haq and Naima Haq, who I believe are husband and wife. Are you with us, Mahfouzul Haq?
Yes, I am.
Thank you. Silvapan Salathurai and Malavirli Silvapan, are you with us?
Through the chair, they have not signed in today.
Okay, thank you. So,
Excuse me, Madam Chair. She called me and she said that she signed in, but she can hear, but you cannot hear. You cannot hear her.
so she needs to, if she's listening, or if you can pass on the message to her, Mahfouz, that she has to call in with the registered number that she had provided to staff before, because when people call in with that number, we have to identify that number to let them in, okay? She should be in.
Okay.
I've been advised by IT staff that she should be, her number is seen there and she should be in. Okay.
Maybe she's using her husband's phone number. So they are husband and wife living in the same house.
Okay, I leave it at that.
Sure.
You still have a few minutes before we get to you. So, Selvapan, please call in with the number 647-390-6292, which we have registered with you, and our staff's looking at it so that we can get you connected so that you can speak. So Merhad, you're with us. Members of the committee, any questions for Merhad, or would you like to have a presentation? Okay, Merhad, committee members do not have any questions for you at this time. Would you like to say anything about your application?
Yes, please, if it's possible. I need to speak for less than 5 minutes, if it's possible.
Please go ahead. You have 5 minutes to speak to this application.
Thank you so much. About the proposed design and the variances, we received 3 oppositions from our neighbors. 2 of them are from adjacent neighbors, the backyard neighbor and the north neighbor side, number 118. And the third one, it was from someone in the neighborhood who hasn't mentioned his address at all. One of the main concern of our adjacent neighbors is the backyard deck, which is located on a high level, and it's bigger than what Toronto bylaw ruled. We need to know that the other adjacent neighbor, I'm talking about number 114, they have a similar backyard deck or balcony on top of their garage, which is on higher level and bigger than what we asked for. And I've sent a picture of that balcony to this committee. But after we received the opposition's letter from our neighbor, the north neighbor, number 118, Ms. Mahfouzul, I discussed our adjacent neighbor's concern with the owner, and he told me that he believes our neighbors are right. And with having that backyard deck, we will have the overlooking position to their privacy. And he doesn't want to have negative effects on his neighbor's quality of life. So we decided to cancel and give up on having a backyard deck, and we will replace the deck with a set of stairs just accessing to our backyard. So we're going to respect our neighbor's position for this item. The second thing is about the other variances, which is sidewalls height. The southern neighbor have a 2-story house, and the northern neighbor, number 118, they have 1-story house. So during the design process, according to the bylaw, we could have designed 4-foot setback on the north side of the house. But we decided to have 5 feet setback there to have less effect on the sunlight for our north neighbor with 1-story house. So we specifically proposed 1 extra foot setback on this neighbor's side. Excuse me. The other thing is the building height has already complied to the bylaw, and it's 9 meters. According to the bylaw, we need to keep 100% of the width of our side walls with 7-meter height from the established grade. In our proposed design, 80% of the width of the side walls are complied to the bylaw, and the height is 7 meters. Only 20% of the width of those walls are 8.2 meters because of 2 windows on each side. We could have put 4 skylights on the roof to supply lights for these areas, but not having a window for a bedroom or washroom will decrease the quality of owners and his family's life, and it won't change anything in favor of our north neighbor's concern. I mean, the sunlight, because the building height will not change, and it's already complied to the bylaw, and it's 9 meters. And the third thing is about 0.5% extra lot coverage. You need to know that our building actual footprint is 32.8% of the land, not even 33%. But when we have a small, but we have a small cantilevered out, a bump out on our southwest corner of our second floor, which the vertical projection lines of this cantilever has been counted as lot coverage by the zoning examiner, and it caused us that 0.5% extra lot coverage. We already have the support from our that side neighbor, number 114, and also from the other neighbor in front of us, number 113. And according to my researchers, Committee of Adjustment has approved applications for more percentage of lot coverage, variances, and taller sidewalls in that area. So we're respectfully asking this committee's member to consider our reason, and like we didn't want to affect the neighbor's quality of life, please help us to maintain our the owner's quality of life as well with such minor variances. Having 2 windows on the side walls where we have more than enough side setbacks, and also only 0.5% extra lot coverage. And about the backyard deck, we won't have it anymore. And that's it. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Merhad. I think that's great. It was very, very refreshing to hear that your owner, your client is willing to withdraw the variance number 2 as it relates to the height of the deck, which is going to impact the neighbor's quality of life. I think that's great news. That's great to hear. I do agree with you. In my opinion, the first variance is certainly minor in nature. On that note, I will request the committee members if they have any questions for yourself.
Through you, Madam Chair, I think you just asked the question that I was going to ask, and just to ensure that this would constitute the removal of variance number 2. So I have no further questions.
Okay, that is my understanding. And Mr. Merhad, correct me if I'm wrong, when I heard you that you're prepared to remove variance number 2 to eliminate it, is that a fair understanding?
Yeah, we are going to cancel any kind of backyard deck, but we still need to put a staircase there to access to our backyard. It's just a small landing and 15 stairs.
So would that require a variance?
No, it's not, because we can have 4 square meter balcony on that level.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
We're going to have less than that. Yeah.
Okay. No, that's great. Thank you very much. So I'm going to confirm that variance number 2 has been withdrawn by the client. Okay. Questions from Mr. Merhad? Mr. Merhad, there are no further questions for you. Appreciate your explanation. I think that's really explained your variances that you've requested very well. We will now move on to our registered neighbors here. Mahfouz al-Haq, are you online with us?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so Mr. Mahfouz al-Haq, go ahead. We can hear you.
Okay, Madam Chair, I'd like to thank the agent for understanding our view on the variance 2, but still I have a little concern about variance 3. By law, I see that the height should be 7 meters, but he's proposing to 8.2 meter. He's comparing with his neighbor about, he said, but the neighbor is, in the corner to my south side, and he's not, I don't see he's anyhow impacted by the height. But for myself, is the sun is coming straight to my backyard from that corner, and that height is directly will affect me. And as I mentioned before in my letter, that we have some trees there. We spend a lot of money for our backyard and the lawns and stuff. They also get affected. And my kids, we always get very little sunlight there. Like in summertime, we get only 3 to 4 months. Like we don't get too much, sunlight. maybe 2 or 3 hours a day, we managed to get all the sunlight during that time. But if in addition to that, if this building get that high, and we believe that will be impacted by from the sunlight.
So, Mr.
And
Mev,
also is not, also to interrupt you, I also like to add that, because of the height also, our basement is lower, and maybe the wind can blow all the snow to our windows and also prevent from the sunlight.
so I think Mr. Mahfouzul Haq, if I can just sort of explain, as explained by Mr. Mirhad, the variance that is before us is not for the height of the building. They are within the regulation, they're within the zoning requirement for the height of the house itself. Okay? So this is a more technical variance where the side walls are not permitted more than 7 meters, just the side walls. So it's not about the height of the building, but just the side walls. What they're proposing is 8.2 meters for 20% of the wall area. That's what the request is for. So you probably have, and I'm sure there are houses with sloped roofs in your neighborhood on your street, correct?
Yeah.
And they're probably taller than what's being proposed here. So I'm going to leave that with Mr. Mirhad to explain you better through the review of his elevation drawings to help you better understand. But I want to clarify that the variance is not being requested for the overall height of the house. It's a technical variance that's required for the side walls. Okay? So even if they were to comply with this regulation, you would still have a house at the height that it's being proposed at. Okay? I'm sure you will have a better understanding when Mr. Mirhad explains to you in detail. Okay?
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, but is there anything else that you would like to say before you leave?
It's nothing much, but if maybe I misunderstood. If the wall, it doesn't mean that the 7 meter wall, it doesn't mean the house will get more higher by proposing 8.2. I believe that the wall will not increase the height, correct?
That is correct. It will not increase the height of the house itself. It is just the height of the side walls. Because of the design of the building, the way it is, and then I don't know if you can see the elevation that is being projected on the screen.
Yeah.
Okay, so Brian, if you can point me to the direction. So that is the proposed wall height the height of the side walls, whereas it should have been at 7 meters. That's the only, so the house would still remain at the height that it is, which is permitted within the zoning regulation. It's just the height of the side wall.
Through you, Madam Chair, maybe I could provide a little bit of some clarity.
Please go ahead.
Can you, Brian, please shift it to either the front or rear elevation, please? So the roof design is what makes this house very different. And the roof design appears at the back to be almost like a mansard roof. And what that means is that the walls come up higher to the roof than it would if it was just a traditional angled roof. So if a traditional angled roof could possibly create a height of a building much higher, but the walls of an angled roof meet the roof at a lower point. So overall, the roof itself is at the same height. It's just where that roof meets the wall is what this regulation is speaking towards. So ultimately, the height of the building would still be the same, whether it was this roof or let's say a flat roof. It's just the condition of the design to have the walls meet a roof at a different point than traditionally a peaked roof would. I hope that helps.
Thank you.
Okay, but we will certainly get more clarification from Mr. Mirhad on that issue. Thank you, Member M. I think that was great explanation. If there's nothing more from Mr. Mahfouzul Haq, I would move to. And sorry, would your wife, who's registered, would like to speak as well?
No,
Okay,
she said is okay.
okay,
She's listening, but she said I spoke behalf of her, so that's fine.
okay. All right, thank you. Okay, so we're going to move on to our next registered person. I'm going to check with our staff again. That person has not signed in or has signed in? They've signed in, okay. So Selvapan and Malarvali, okay, go ahead.
Yeah. I had the same thing because the sunrise, they block the sunrise. And
We-
also the deck is close to my backyard. Hello?
Do you have another device on or your YouTube on? Because we're getting some echo.
I turn it off.
So, so please turn off all your devices except the one that you're speaking into, or mute all your other devices. Can you say something now? Selvapan, can you speak into your mic?
Then go. Hello? Do you
Yes.
hear me?
Yes, now we can hear you. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Because in the morning, they block the sunrise. The building is higher. Or also the fence is close to my backyard. It's take my privacy a little bit. That's why I.
Okay, so Selvapan, I don't know if you heard, but there were 3 variances on this application. Variance number 2 was related to the deck, and that variance has been removed. So which means that if they were to go and build a deck, they would meet the zoning regulation so that it will not be as high as what was proposed. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and then your second point regarding the height of the building, they are not asking for an increase in the height of the building. They will meet the regulation for the height of the building. It was just the height of the main wall of the building that is higher than what is permitted. And as described earlier, it's more or less a technical variance, not so much as a height variance to the building height itself. Okay, so so currently they meet the zoning regulation for the height of the building. Okay,
Okay.
okay. Do you have anything else to add?
Oh, it's okay.
It's okay now? Okay, so I'm going to take that as an okay. You have no further questions for us?
No, only yeah, it's okay.
Okay, thank you, Selvapan, for your time. Okay, so we will now move back to Murhad. Murhad, if you're online with us, you heard the comments from both the neighbors regarding the height, and there was some explanation provided by committee members. Would you like to expand on it or have anything to add?
Actually, it was very clear. Thank you so much for explaining it perfectly. The only thing is they need to know only the parts which we have windows, we are going to add the sidewalls height.
Can we
And the
have
rest of yeah, if you show me page A1.8, the side elevation.
Okay, so we're going to pull up that elevation drawing on the screen. So if Mahfouzul Haq and Selvapan are watching, they can follow the drawing that Murhad is explaining.
Yeah, 80% of the width of this wall is under 7 meters, and only the places we have 2 windows, these are the only places we have more than 7 meter. And I think exactly it's a technical issue that only we need to get approval from Committee of Adjustment, and it's not going to affect our neighbors having those windows or having skylights instead on top of the roof.
What's the height
It's
of,
just a matter of
what's the height of the building?
is
Yes.
9 meter. It's
Is-
9 meter, and it's compliant to the bylaw.
Okay, and
So
what's the permitted height in the bylaw?
9 meter.
9 meters,
meters.
okay. So Selvapan and Mahfouz al-Haq, if you're listening to us, the permitted height in the zoning bylaw is 9 meters, and what's being proposed is at 9 meters. So they do meet the zoning regulation for the height of the building, okay? The only portion that they are seeking a variance for the sidewall is only those 2 areas where the windows are being proposed, which is in exceedance of, which is in excess of 7 meters. It's at 8.2 meters for only those 2 portions where the windows are being proposed.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm sorry to interrupt. I just need to insist that we add 1 more extra foot on our setback on Mahfouz al-Haq side, because we want them to have more sunlight, and we already considered it.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Any questions from Mirhad? Okay. Thank you very much for your time, Mirhad. Members of committee, we take the matter into deliberation or a motion now.
I'm prepared to put forward a motion, Madam Chair. Like you had said earlier, it's refreshing to have an applicant who's very willing to discuss and modify their applications based on the impact from the neighbors. So I am happily to put forward a motion of approval, subject to the removal of variance number 2 relating to the deck. So with that, it will only be approval for variance number 1 and number 3. And I believe there are 2 urban forestry conditions, so it would be also subject to those conditions.
And Mirhad, you're aware of those conditions from urban forestry? Okay.
Hello, yeah, I'm unmuted. I was unmuted. Yes, I'm aware of that.
Okay, thank you. May I have a seconder, please?
Madam Chair, I will second that motion.
Okay, Member Macaulay seconds the motion. All in favor of this motion? Thank you. The motion is carried. Mirhad, your application has been approved, subject to conditions of urban forestry. Thank you for your
Yes, I
time.
appreciate it. Have a good day. Thank you.
Okay, we are now going to move to item number 17, I believe. Sorry. 13, sorry. Item number 13, my apologies. It is item number 13, 68 Harewood Avenue. 68 Harewood Avenue. This is an application to construct a rear second-story addition and a rooftop patio to the existing detached dwelling. We did receive some correspondence from the agent in terms of revising the application to remove the 3rd floor, which would result in the removal of variance number 2, 3, and 5. But we will hear more about it from the agent himself. So we have on our registered list, Leo Mastrandria from Lemcat. Leo, are you online with us?
Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll do a roll call and then we'll come back to you, Leo, because we have a few registered participants. We also have the owner on the property, Michael Clark.
Through the chair, the owner has not signed in.
Okay, thank you. So the owner has not signed in. Now moving to the residents, Alan Burt, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Thank you. Wendy Hooker, are you with us? They're together. So Wendy and Alan are together. Okay. Natasha Taylor, are you online with us?
Yes, I am.
Thank you. Christina Schmanka, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
And Kimberly Fawcett Smith, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Thank you. Appreciate that. We will now go back to Leo. Leo, I think this requires a little bit of an explanation as to the changes that have been made to the application and the variances that have been modified. Could you please provide us a quick summary of the changes?
Yes. So essentially, after reading all the opposition letters, their main concerns seem to be the third floor and the deck above. So I spoke to the owner and we decided to remove the third floor altogether, including the deck. So I sent photos. Basically, page number 1 in my package is basically how the house will look. So what we're really now asking for is the second floor rear addition. And the two areas that we have left is variance number 1, which is 57%, which is minor and similar to approved decisions in the area, which I also show on page 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, which are all above what we're asking. And number 5 is about 8 inches longer than what we're allowed as per bylaw, 17 meters. So I do believe now that the application is in keeping and it does meet the 4 tests. And if you have any questions, I can answer them.
Okay, for sure. Just bear with me. We're confirming one thing.
Through the chair, has the package been submitted by the applicant that the applicant is referring to?
Yeah, I submitted a package.
Was
I
it?
submitted a package. It was uploaded.
Oh.
I have 11 pages.
Okay, and it's on page, sorry, it's on the AIC?
It should be, yes, it's on the AIC. I also sent it to all the neighbors as well.
Okay.
Okay, wait. On the AIC, the only plans are... Sorry, on the AIC, the only plans that I see are dated March 4th. So there are no packages of revised architecturals that show the change to.
Sorry, the architecturals were not changed because we're just eliminating the third floor. So the photo you see on page number 1 is how it's going to look.
The photo on page number 1.
I didn't think it was necessary to revise the drawings.
Okay, so the correspondence on July 7th that is, okay, let me download that. I'm just, through you, Madam Chair, I have a hard time understanding how we are supposed to deliberate and make a decision on something that we do not have plans for.
Okay, no, that's a good point. Leo, go ahead.
The plans remain exactly the same, we're just eliminating the third floor completely.
But sir, that will ultimately affect your FSI variance. So you're still requesting an FSI variance of the exact same nature that was circulated that did include that third floor. So that basically means that you could possibly go in and build extra square footage elsewhere that has nothing to do with the third floor. So, I mean, unless you're willing to reflect variance number 1 with the reduction in the FSI due to the removal of that third floor, I do not feel like your variance adequately represent what your application is.
Okay, then in that case, our new FSI will be. I wanted to leave it because I wasn't sure how the examiner classified the GFA, but essentially it's 13 square feet. So if we revise it to 270 square meters, then it will be reflected. But if we leave it as is, it's still under. And we won't add it anywhere, but it's still under what's been approved in the area. So I feel that even if we allow it to stay.
Sir, that's not how this works, unfortunately, because while your particular client may not add that, if they already have the permission in place and a subsequent owner of that house would have the ability to build further additions in light of having that additional allowance. So unfortunately, that's not how I particularly like to operate. I can't speak for my colleagues, but we would like to create variances based on the applications before us, and that applications should have technical drawings that allow us to make appropriate decisions. So I appreciate that there's a photo here, but from a professional standpoint, I like to be certain on what I'm approving, and I'm not fully comfortable approving it just based on photos and not having architectural drawings that are corresponding to your application.
Or at least,
in that case-
or at least a revision to the variance that is being requested.
Yes.
At the least, that number has to be modified or reflect what's being asked today.
Okay, so then we can change the 283 to 270 square meters.
And what is that in an FSI, sir?
283 divided
Sir, I would understand that if you're going to
Just bear with me, Leo. We have a question. We have a question from committee. Member Macaulay?
Sir, if you're going to go to 273 square meters, then you don't need the variance, because the variance for 5 times allows
Yes.
283. So you can
They made a
eliminate that variance as well.
They made a mistake on that number. If you look at my markup that I sent on the same date, July 7th, I revised that number because those two numbers are the same. If you look at 0.5 is 283 and 0.57 is 283.
Yes,
So
we
there
did
should
notice
be a
that.
revision- So there should be a revision to the top 5% is actually 247.
Okay, so now, Leo, because we do not have that before us, can you now revise the entire wording of this variance that you're asking? The entire variance. So read out everything that's what's required and what is being proposed.
Okay. The permitted maximum floor space index is 0.5 of the area of the lot, or 247 meters squared. The proposed maximum floor space index is 0.55 times the area of the lot, or 270 square meters.
So there's some inaccuracy on the notice as well as it relates to the square footage.
Yes, I just noticed that when I was revising and removing variances, I just noticed that the numbers were the same on the notice.
So-
But it's incorrect.
So, yeah. So you'd still require the variance, except that it's a revised variance.
It's a revised variance to 270 at 55%.
Through the chair, would you give us a moment? We'd just like to check the agenda and the supplementary agenda.
Okay. So, Leo, we have a request from staff to allow a couple of minutes to look into some details of the agenda and the supplementary information. Okay?
No problem.
While staff is looking at that, I do have additional questions for Leo, in addition to the ones that I just asked. So the variance number 5 that remains,
No, deleted.
We removed 2, 3, and 5.
okay, so I was going to say, because I do see a rear platform in the back.
They're removing it. So we're only down to 1 and 4, and 1 is potentially being modified.
Right,
It
okay.
is, yeah.
Madam Chair, we don't have this information in front of us. So I'm less wanting to approve something that's not in front of us. I would also like to approve this subject to the building drawing, building elevation, so that there's no question as to what is being built. What we have here is clearly a 3-story building.
Through you, Madam Chair, and in addition to Member Macaulay here, I'm kind of the same vein. However, if we're just looking at the remaining variances that are left, which is the floor space index, which is going to be reduced, and their length of the rear wall, I do feel that they're minor in nature, but I feel like there's a risk that they will not be constructed like in accordance to what we think we're approving. But that being said, that is kind of the process of the building permit process. So, you know, if the permit drawings come in and don't match the variances, they would be ended up back here anyway. So this is really a risk that the applicant is taking himself and and the agent to request approval from us for something that we do not have drawings for. I mean, if it was for variances that, in my mind, were more major, then yes, I agree with you, Member Macaulay, that we should have it tied. But since they are, like, I mean, 0.2 of a meter is fairly minor in my eyes, and he has reduced the overall FSI. So I think I'm comfortable to proceed with a decision as opposed to a deferral. I do feel that that will be something that will be caught at the permit stage if it doesn't pair with the variances that we've approved.
And if I can just add to it that, of course, the elevation drawings that were part of this package will have to be revised. And if there is no height variance required, then elevations really don't matter to us in terms of the height of the building. The revised drawings that will be provided at the building permit stage would have to meet the required height, and of course, the drawings will be there. So given the fact, especially for variance number 4, if you look at it, it's very minor in nature. It's 0.2 meters. But again, it's in the committee's hands to make that call.
Okay, Madam Chair, I understand variance number 4 is very minor. What I don't have any confidence in is variance number 1. What number are we dealing with there?
Okay, so based on what the agent has provided, it is, the required is at 0.5 FSI at 247 square meters. What's being proposed is at 0.55 at 270 square meters. Yeah.
So as long as the applicant's client is aware that they are at risk by having us approve the variances as proposed by their agent today without drawings to confirm those numbers, that is the decision for the applicant and the owner themselves, in my opinion.
I tend to agree with you, Member M.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I have the same opinion that unless we have the drawings available, technically and all the architecturals are available, even if the variance number 1 is being revised and we are coming with the new numbers, but the availability of the drawings should be there before the committee make a safe decision.
If I can ask a question, staff, you have some
Through the chair. So what's before you is the requested variances. The committee is approving the variances, not the plans. So as Member M mentioned, is that when an applicant submits a zoning waiver, that waiver, they're taking their own risk on that. So if at the building permit stage they don't comply, then they will need to submit a new minor variance application. So the risk is on the applicant.
Thank you, Colin. I think that helps sort of articulating what I was trying to say is that as committee, we're not approving the plans. We're approving the variances that are before us in whatever form or shape they come out to be at the end of the day. As long as they meet the zoning regulations, that should be sufficient for our purposes. The applicant is here, the agent is here representing his owner, and he has given us some numbers. The revision to variance number 1, that's a risk they take in the absence of the drawings, and if they have to come back to the committee for a change, they will come back to the committee for a change.
Could you repeat the variance number 1? What's the revisions?
Okay, so the way I've heard from Leo, the agent, I'm going to read it in its entirety. The permitted maximum floor space index is 0.5 times the area of the lot, or 247 square meters floor area. The proposed maximum floor space index is 0.55 times the area of the lot, or 270 square meters.
Madam Chair, before we make a decision on this,
Yes.
can I ask the applicant how much of this building has already been constructed?
We have a permit for what's constructed currently. So whatever you see on site currently, we have an existing permit, which I've also submitted to the committee.
So,
Exactly as we have a permit for. So really, all we're now asking for is that back second floor rear part.
so,
Submitted the permit drawings. Do you guys have a copy of that?
no, unfortunately, we don't. That's where our problem is.
Just enough for the, I sent it to the technician, so along with my other package, so it should be all there.
Yes, I understand that. We unfortunately are not having you in front of us with your drawings in front of us. And so with the technical ability of staff to get these drawings to us and for us to have considered this, it's a little bit difficult. So you're saying that all 2 stories of this building are completely constructed. What you're asking to do now is add an additional space on the second story to create that 17.2 meters length, and you are not going to add anything on the third story.
Correct.
So you want to make the second story, which is partially completed, a little bit longer.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Through you, Madam Chair, there are, his package is available on the Application Center website, and
Okay.
it does show
Thank you.
that.
All right, I think we need to move on. We have a few residents waiting to speak with us. So I will move to Alan Burt. Alan and Wendy, I believe you're together.
I'll speak for Alan. We're very pleased that they've moved variants 2, 3, and 5. But quite honestly, listening to Member M, I don't understand how you can approve something if you don't have the design in front of you. That's my question.
So if I can help you understand, Wendy, for the purposes of this committee, we are here to approve or deny variances that are before us, okay? The plans are supporting documents, drawings that support those variances or provide additional information on those variances. If we do not have, so 9 out of 10 times we have the drawings before us, but in this case, it's a little unusual. We don't have the drawings before us, but the variance that is before us relates to an FSI that has been modified today as we speak, that has been modified, and that's what we have to decide on today. We don't necessarily need to have the drawing to really see where that FSI is. As long as what's being proposed will be built, if it gets approved today, it should be okay.
Further, Madam Chair, let me see if I can clarify even more so. There's multiple processes that take place before a building can get constructed. The first would be to ensure that it complies with the zoning bylaw. And so the vehicle to get relief of that if you do not comply is this minor variance process. So that asks us to as committee members, choose to modify the existing zoning bylaw requirements if we feel that they meet the 4 tests to allow for something that is a small deviation from what is allowed by law. And after that happens, then there is the building permit process. Now, this is a strange case in which this applicant already has a building permit. So what has happened from my assumption is that the applicant has decided mid-process that he would like to change his design. And so he would like to deviate from the existing building permit he has already approved that has allowed him to move forward and partially construct this building. So as a result, he's back before us to request this relief. And we understand that he has now removed, I guess, the most contentious piece, which is in relation to this 3rd story. So that remains 2 variances that are, one is in relation to the FSI, and the second is in relation to the building length. So what this means is that if we do move forward to approve these variance requests, that he has set new regulations for himself that he must comply to. He will have to submit a revised building permit application to reflect his changes that are related to those two variances. And so if he submits revised drawings, which we do not have, and they don't comply with the variances that we or will not approve today, then he will have to come back before us to get further relief, which would be his third time back before us. So an owner has every right to apply for these changes. We as committee are really dealing with actually the regulations, not the plans themselves. So there's still a whole secondary process that's going to happen after this meeting to ensure that whatever gets built is in compliance. I
Thank
hope
you.
that's clearer.
We like the idea, so the construction is suspended until that is approved by the building?
Yes, that is absolutely correct.
That's correct.
So they cannot continue to build until they resubmit a revised building permit application that shows the changes that they are going to be making to their permits. And those changes are going to be in relation to the two remaining variances that are left. So let's say that the plans come forward in the future and they do not align with these two variances before us today, well then that means that that applicant has to submit another minor variance application and pay monies again to come back before this committee, which is a risk that he is taking by not submitting us those drawings.
We're satisfied with that decision then.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. We also have Natasha Taylor. Natasha, would you like to speak?
Yes, thank you very much. I also want to thank Committee Member M for her great explanations. And I want to thank the builder for removing variants 2, 3, and 5, which dealt with the third story and the rooftop platform. There's no third stories or rooftop platforms in this entire neighborhood, so I appreciate that in keeping with the neighborhood, those have been removed. So thank you for that. So I think I understand it properly that from now it's really up to the building department to issue a new permit and to ensure that it's in line with the variances that we sort of edited quite a bit today, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so I will stop talking then, because that was my only question. So, and you have other business to do. So thank you very much for including us in the consultation. And again, thank you very much to the builder for removing the third floor and the rooftop deck.
Okay, thank you, Natasha. Kristen, are you online?
I am, and I just wanted to sort of second all of Natasha's comments. I'm in total agreement with everything that she has said.
And you have no further questions or comments on this application?
I have no further questions
Okay.
and appreciate the time taken and the removal of the variances that we were sort of upset with.
All right, thank you. Appreciate your comments.
Thank you.
Thank you. Kimberly Fawcett-Smith, are you online?
Yes, I am.
Okay, and would you like to say something?
Just simply echoing what the previous two callers have stated. I do want to leave the committee with one thought, however, and that the Committee of Adjustments is where laypersons, the residents, come to express their concerns. The concern that I have with not having the appropriate drawings there, and while I appreciate a Member M's explanations, we're only dealing with and looking at the drawings that are put forward and made available to us. Puts us as residents at a bit of a disadvantage when the group is simply talking about the legalese and the bylaw requirements, variance requirements, because we don't know really what you're talking about. It just undermines confidence in the committee when the appropriate documents are not required and the responsibility is being passed on to another department to catch any future errors. I'm very pleased to see that the builder has chosen to remove the rooftop patio and structure and what have you. That was great. That was my only concern. But I did want to mention this to the committee because I am a former member of a committee of adjustments in Kingston, Ontario, and I'm postgrad architecture and engineering. I can understand what you're talking about, but I'm certain that my next door neighbor at 95 wouldn't understood. So I thank you very much for your time, and I will end my comment there. Thank you.
Thank you, Kimberly. Your comments have been noted, and thank you for taking the time to speak with us. Members of the committee, sorry, before I do that, Leo, do you have anything further to add?
I don't think so. I think we addressed the neighbors' concerns by
Okay.
removing those variances. So I don't
Okay.
think I have any further comments.
Okay, thank you. I think we've spent good time on this application. Committee members, I would like to take this matter into committee now and call for a motion on this.
Madam Chair, before we call for a motion, I'd like to speak to this matter. I have some concerns. We do have a building that's under construction. I'm assuming that the building under construction is the first floor and a portion of the second floor. At some point, the applicant or its owner decided to expand the second floor. He also decided to expand the third floor. I realize that had these variances come to us, we're only a small portion of an extension and a small increase in the gross floor area, we probably would have been accepted. But there's been a lot of confusion over what is being built, what is under construction, what is not going to be under construction. I'm not comfortable in that type of a situation, taking taking the risk that the end building is not what we are anticipating. We don't have any idea. And I think at this stage, the neighbors are happy to get rid of the third floor. I'm certainly happy to get rid of the third floor, but I would like to see drawings that reflect what is being actually built rather than a proposal that may or may not be built.
Through you, Madam Chair, I agree with you, but at the same time, they could submit drawings, revised drawings, and it still not get constructed as per those drawings, and then they would still be back before us as a committee, as another application to relieve it. So either way, even having those revised drawings doesn't guarantee that the building is going to be constructed as per them. So
we have the opportunity to add a condition to our variances.
we do, but they could still be in non-compliant with that condition, right?
They certainly could be.
Yeah.
And we don't even know if what he's got built is in compliant with the building permit he has at the moment.
Absolutely.
But if I can just add, that's not for us.
That's an inspector's,
concern.
that's an
It's not our
inspector's
concern, it's
job.
not in our jurisdiction.
Yeah.
We have to look at what is before us, and as modified today, it's certainly in your hands at this time to make a motion on this application. And that's what I'm looking forward to.
I'm not putting forward a motion because I know it's just going to get shot down, so I'm waiting for somebody else.
We don't say that. Okay, so committee members, I would like to have a motion on this.
I'll put forward a motion that this application be deferred for the applicant to provide us the new drawings and a written submission. And I would assume that would require new notice.
Yes.
Madam Chair, I would like to second the motion as stated by Member Annie.
All in favor of this motion? All opposed?
I oppose.
So motion carries. The application has been deferred subject to the condition that the updated drawings be provided. Yeah, for that reason.
And new notice be given to the community.
That's a requirement anyways. We don't need to say that. Okay, thank you. So Leo, your application has been deferred, subject to the updated drawings be submitted.
Sine die.
Well, we can't commit to putting it back on the next agenda, so it'll have to be sine die. Okay. We move to item number 14. Item number 14, I'm calling out 1571 Sandhurst Circle, and it is to permit an indoor zoo, whereas a zoo is not permitted in the zone. So we have, in terms of the registered participants, we have the agent Maggie Lowe. Maggie, are you online with us?
Here, Chair, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And we also have Nicholas from Councillor Lai's office. Nicholas, are you with us?
I am.
Okay, thank you very much. Members of the committee, we have Maggie as well as Nicholas. I guess Maggie is the agent who would be responding to any questions. So would you like to have a presentation on this item, or would you like to proceed with questions for Maggie?
Madam Chair, I will ask Maggie to just briefly tell us about what kind of facility this is, like the zoo.
Okay, so Maggie, we have member Said would like to have a quick, maybe 2-minute presentation or description about the proposed zoo.
For sure. So we are proposing a approximately 60 square feet indoor zoo on the lower level of Woodside Square Shopping Mall. We are looking to install some aquarium for some ocean fish, jellyfish, and some small animals in there for the local community children's to get interactive with wildlife in a controlled environment. And we believe that this will be an opportunity to bring to the local, not just children, also the residents with more the education and also the understanding of the animals and then the protection of their natural habitat, and also provide a real life contacts through the learned classroom and visual media education. And also we believe that with the addition of this indoor zoo, that will provide more job opportunities to strengthen the local community economics growth. And in the daily operation of the zoo, the owner will be hiring the licensed third parties to make sure that all animals are handled, are taken care of properly and in their suitable habitat.
Okay, thank you. Quick question. Would you also need some sort of permits from any ministry for this facility?
Yes, for sure.
And which ministry would that be, for my curiosity?
We will go through we'll apply application through the Ministry of Environmental and also be Ministry of Health.
Okay, so Ministry of Health and Ministry MNR, okay.
Further, Madam Chair, so with the application to the Ministry of Health, would they be examining, I guess, the ventilation system? Because I would like to note that there are restaurants also within this shopping center, and with, noxious odors and stuff from all these animals, I want to ensure that it wouldn't impact the viability of the existing tenants that are already in this plaza, many of which serve food to the public.
Yes, for sure. The professional engineer will be hired to design the ventilation system for the place and ensure that there is no interfere with other tenants in the shopping mall, and then make sure everything is up to code and up to the best for the animals inside.
So thank you very much. So that definitely answers my question. So there's a license that's associated with the Ministry of Health application, correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any questions?
And Maggie, at what stage you are? Have you got any of these license or approvals from any of other agency? Like you are mentioning the environment or health?
No, not yet, not yet. We would like to get approval from the local municipality first in terms of the zoning
use.
relief to be able to have this zoo established.
So in order to secure any licenses or permits, they need to have the zoning in place first. Okay. Member Macaulay, you have a question?
Yes, is any of this animals or birds or reptiles, is there any commercial application whereby you can buy any of these animals?
No, those animals are for display only, and then there will be no commercial transaction for purchasing the animals.
So there's no retail sales at this facility?
No, there's retail sales.
Correct. There is not going to be
No,
any
no, there is a retail
There is
component.
no retail for animals,
I
but
mean, the retail is there are 4 small retail units at the in the place is for like a package, like a snacks for the patrons.
so souvenirs and accessory, okay.
Exactly.
Snacks and souvenirs, okay. All right, but no retail sales of animals there, okay. All right,
No, absolutely no.
okay. Member Macaulay has another question, please.
I have another question, and that is there another facility within the Toronto area that is similar to this that either you know of or are operating?
There is a reptile,
Yes.
small in Vaughan, in the city of Vaughan.
Vaughan.
So they have those lizard, those small animals, similar to part
Yes.
of our exhibition as well.
So there is a facility in Vaughan that I've also visited, that's a reptile zoo.
Yes.
In the basement of a commercial plaza?
In a commercial plaza, a combination of units. They've kind of assembled some units together to make a large facility, and it has indoor reptiles.
Okay. All right, thank you.
And of course, we see birds and fishes and all that in stores anyways, okay?
Yeah,
Okay,
but none
thank
of
you.
that's for sale here.
Just so it's like a zoo, you go and visit. Any further questions for Maggie?
On a smaller scale.
Go ahead. Maggie, you're saying something?
Oh, I'm just saying that it's a small, it's a zoo, it's an indoor zoo on a smaller scale compared to, like, say, Toronto Zoo. So it will be mostly like those animals in the aquarium, and then small animals like bunnies that it's suitable for to live in there.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, or shall we move on?
Madam Chair, just I'm thinking because this is their first application to the city, right? And I understand your viewpoint, like zoning approval is first, and then they have to go to the other licensing authorities, whatever, like Environment Ministry or Health Ministry. Would it be possible for the applicant to take at least some kind of approvals from the other agencies, just to tell them about your potential project, and they can simply give their feedbacks or input on that? Because I don't want to be catching this again error in the future when you go to the Ministry of Health and saying that, okay, city have already approved this.
They likely would not accept an application unless it was legally permitted use.
I was about to say, for any business license or permit, they usually contact the municipality to confirm if the use is permitted.
Because if the use is not permitted, they're not even going to process it.
No, they won't even look at the application. This is the standard for any business permits.
Again, following your question, has the applicant approached the various ministries, and are they aware of what requirements there are? That's a question to the applicant. Have you?
We haven't. But yeah, once we get the results from the committee today, then definitely that's our second step to go details in those application and requirements.
Staff has to add something.
So typically with ministries, they require the municipal approvals first before they will even take a look at it.
Yes, I understand that, but often an applicant who is knowledgeable can find out what are the ministry's requirements to be met before proceeding.
Why does it matter to us? But why do we need to know that information?
Yeah, why does that matter?
Because it's, the reason it matters is because we may be giving approval for something that doesn't meet the ministry standards, and that they will have to make some changes to and come back with an application again.
So that goes back to like the last application that we talked about. So they're taking that risk themselves, right? It's not going to get built. So your concern is you're going to put forward an approval for permitted use, and then it's not going to meet the standards. Well, then it's not going to come to fruition.
If I can sort of put it, have another explanation. So it's like a daycare facility, right? That's the one that I'm most closest to. So a daycare is permitted on a property, like the zoning allows it, right? But a daycare cannot function and operate until it meets the ministry's requirements and they have a permit and license in place. So this is no different than, in my opinion, no different than that use where a use could be permitted if the
So long as it meets the requirements.
if the committee chooses to make a decision today to allow it, and if it does go forward, the onus will be on the applicant and the owner to go to the ministry and comply with all the requirements and legislative requirements of those permits and licenses to be able to operate out of this facility.
Madam Chair, I understand what you're saying. I appreciate that this is the first of many steps. But when we're dealing with an item that is very unusual, I haven't dealt with an indoor zoo on any variance application or any other application as an indoor zoo in a commercial plaza before. I hadn't till recently dealt with any items for marijuana. With marijuana, we asked the applicants to find out what are the requirements so that they could provide us with additional information so that we were comfortable in approving the application. In this case, I am saying this is a change in use. This is a brand new use that is not permitted anywhere, to my knowledge, in Toronto.
Okay.
And that before giving my approval to this, I would like to know what steps are required by other agencies to ensure that the health and safety of the residents of Toronto are still maintained.
Okay, thank you. Maggie, would you like to respond to this comment and question?
I have a small suggestion. So this committee meeting is to seeking the opinions of the board members. And also, I think it's fair for the owner that we can we get a conditional approval on this, like the zoning change will be finalized or approved subject to the Ministry of Environmental's approve.
But who's gonna?
I don't know if those are the ministries. I don't know.
At this stage, do you know what ministry's approval you need?
Yes.
Maggie, are you with us?
I believe, yes. I believe any, as a business that if it needs to be, if it can be successfully registered, it has to meet all the parties, all the ministry satisfaction, right? So at this moment, because we, like I said previously, that we haven't started the second stage of seeking the approval from other ministries, because City of Scarborough is the first authority that we are seeking approval, because without the use being relieved from the current zoning, it's pointless to go for the further steps, right? Okay. So at this moment, what we know is the Ministry of Environment and Ministry of Health.
Okay.
So
well, thank you, Maggie. I think this is enough for us. I think we've spent quite a bit of time on this application. Any questions related to the use itself that's before us? Okay. If there are no questions to the variance that is before us, I would like to request the committee to put forward a motion on this. We have a comment from staff.
I believe there's another speaker.
Oh, I'm sorry. Nicholas from from Councillor's office. Nicholas, would you like to say something on this application?
Yes, a couple points on behalf of Councillor Cynthia Lai. The councillor is very supportive of what is being proposed for several reasons, which were stated in your letter, so I won't repeat them. However, to speak to one of the board members' concerns, we are fully protected as a community from both Ministry of Environment and Ministry of Health with the operation of a zoo or a zoo type of function. The City of Toronto currently does have something. We have Ripley's Aquarium. So this is within the right of Toronto to have in our zoning. The committee is the first step in allowing the zoning so that the applicant can go through the next step. We've seen this right across the board in all types of industry that we approve zoning for. The applicant isn't asking to divert from any of that. They've come forward. Again, they've got some community programming and community benefits within their package. They'll be offering youth and vulnerable at-risk youth some opportunities for free programming to interact with some of the animals. One of the programs that was mentioned that may not be mentioned here, but is to use the animals and interaction with the animals as a type of social programming or assistance for some of our vulnerable youth. So there's a lot of benefit to the community, but the committee, I believe the role of the committee is to look at the zoning. We don't have anything like this because this is a costly endeavor. It generally isn't a profitable industry. And this applicant is coming forward saying we're willing to take this on and we're not so much worried about our profit. We're worried about providing a quality community program. So I think we should consider that. That's a huge benefit to our local community, but to the broader community of Toronto. That's all we'd like to add on our part.
Thank you, Nicholas, and I apologize, I missed your name because it was a lengthy discussion. Okay, but we're happy to hear. But we're happy to hear your comments.
Thank you.
Members of committee.
I don't have further comments, but I'm prepared to put forward a motion.
Okay. Please go ahead.
Recognizing that achieving zoning is the first step in order to facilitate a business, and that further steps will be undertaken to ensure that all of the health and safety of both the animals as well as the constituents are made will be through ministry business licensing. I'm prepared to approve the zoning request for a new use for an indoor zoo.
May I have a seconder, please?
I didn't think so.
There is no seconder? Okay. Motion fails. May I have a motion, please? May I have a motion?
I will put forth a motion because I understand we need a motion or else we're in limbo here. I'll put forth a motion. I'm having problems here because I understand where we're caught. And I do appreciate your comment about the Ridley Aquarium is a facility similar to this. I also understand that none of this has been tested with any of the ministries, or even the size of the facility is determined. I'm sorry, I'm not going to put forth the motion to recommend this. I'm going to put forth the motion to refuse this application, but I suggest that they come back to us with further information, some of the information of what the ministry requires. You can find that out without having to actually make the application. If you want to come back with some further information, that's up to you. At the present time, I'm not comfortable with this as a brand-new use without any understanding of what other regulations for the health and safety of the people in the area or in the plaza would be protected. So I recommend refusal.
Okay. Before I call for a seconder, we have member M who wants to say something.
Could we not suggest a deferral as something as something in between? I think a straight out refusal would be overly heavy-handed. If it is all that you want is information, I feel it is more appropriate to request a deferral because that's a much less fee for them to come back before us. They have to pay a deferral fee versus a whole new application fee, and I think that is a little bit more considerate on our part, considering that as part of their process, they need the variance before they really can consult in depth with the ministry. So I would like a request a modification of that motion.
I'm prepared to support a motion to defer it for them to come back with further information to address our concerns.
Okay, so we have a motion to defer the application, subject to further information as requested and as discussed at the hearing today. May I have a seconder to this motion?
I'll second her motion, isn't it?
No, that's your motion. You revised your motion.
Okay, all right.
So that's,
I need a seconder for my motion,
yeah, so
sorry.
Member Macaulay has put forward a motion to defer this, subject to additional information that's been requested in order for a committee to make an informed decision. May I have a seconder to this motion? There's no seconder to this motion. Okay, so. Okay, so the motion fails again. I would like to have a motion on this application now.
This is a question for staff. So in this instance, where there's three of us and there's a stalemate, is it not possible for the chair to vote to break that stalemate? What is the process?
No.
The chair can vote. The chair does have the ability to vote.
But I can create a tie. Only when there is a tie. Only, so I would only come in to break a tie if it was a complement of 5. Right. So there was 2 and 2, and then I would come in to break a tie. I cannot, because we have a third member available to make a motion again. We have already exhausted our deferral option. We have exhausted our approval option. So now we have another option available, and
Madam Chair, can I move a motion for refusal of this application, because to me this is not a minor variance. So I will move a motion for refusal of this application.
so we have a motion to refuse this application.
I will second that motion.
We have a seconder to this motion. All in favor of this motion? All opposed? So Member Said put forward a motion to refuse. Member Macaulay seconded it. All in favor were the 2, and Member M refused that. Opposed that motion. Thank you. The application has been refused. Okay. I'm now going to move to item number 19. Item number 19 is 32 Bowes Garden Court. 32 Bowes Garden Court is an application to construct a second-story addition over the existing garage and a new one-story rear addition. And we have Peter Barton as the agent registered with us. Peter, are you online with us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Thank you very much. Of course, we can hear you. We also have Celestia Richards and Sheldon Wilson as interested parties. Are you online with us?
Through the chair, the interested parties are not signed in.
They have not signed in. Okay. So Peter Barton is the agent on this application with us. Members of the committee, do you have any questions for Peter, or would like to have a presentation? None? Just for record, for this application, we had 5 letters of support and 2 letters of opposition, which the committee has received and reviewed. Members of the committee, if, sorry, before I proceed, Peter Barton, would you like to say anything for us on this
Certainly.
application? Mm-hmm.
If you can give me a moment, sure. I want to
Please.
thank you, Madam Chairman and the council for hearing this application. I'll just be brief. My clients lived in the home for a number of years, and they live in it's a quiet court, probably about 12 homes, and they know everyone on the street. And when it became apparent that there was going to be variances, quite a few people dropped by,
this one, right?
discussed it with the clients, and they were in approval, and they did in fact actually get 5 letters of approval. Are you hearing me okay?
Yes, of course. Please go ahead. Carry on.
Oh, sorry. I just heard someone talking.
No, that's okay.
Now, I can draw your attention to the deck in the rear of the property, which if the committee's been there, I'm sure they've seen that deck. This single-story rear addition is in the same position as that deck. And I just wanted to point out that we were here today because we have a very sharp angle on our rear lot line, which is causing us a drastic variance in the rear of the property at that back corner. However, if you look at I put a dimension on the site plan of 9.15 meters, which is 30 feet from the addition to the parallel to the addition to the back lot line. So the geometries, made it somewhat difficult for us to comply. I did want to say just briefly that the neighbor at number 26, which is just to the north side of my client's home, our addition is roughly 15 feet from his pool, the edge of his pool, and to the property in the rear of us, on the home on the street behind us, we're approximately 35 feet from the edge of his pool. It's not shown on the site plan, but if you go to Google Earth, you can see it from there. So, having said that, I also wanted to note that the single-story addition is the rear property line has a number of tall trees along the rear, and would not be visible to the neighbor to the west, the neighbor in behind us. In fact, if they were to look out from the yard, they would just see the 2-story house in behind, and not the single addition. So we didn't feel we were impeding on the on any neighbor actually at all. We did speak to the others, but I don't feel like we're having any negative effects, sunlight or otherwise, on any of the neighbors in behind us. So that's basically my synopsis of the application.
That's great. Thank you, Peter. Are you aware of the community planning's report and the condition that they have put forward?
Yes, I have.
Okay, all right. And you have no questions on that one?
I do not, no.
Okay, thank you very much. So, committee members, any question for Mr. Barton? Yes.
I just have one question. I know that the topography in this area is quite different. Is that a retaining wall that you have in your rear yard there?
Sorry, just let me have a quick look at it here.
In other words, is the properties to the west at a higher elevation than this property?
The street behind is higher, yes. And their property is a little higher up, yes.
Okay, thank you. That's sufficient.
It's not drastic, but it's, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions?
Okay.
Okay. There are no further questions for you, Mr. Barton, at this time. I'm just confirming the condition. That's the only condition that was recommended, and I do agree. I think that's important to have that condition if the committee chooses to approve this, because it really ties that reduction in setback to that corner only. Okay, so that was my only comment. I take the matter into committee. Members, any comment or motion?
Madam Chair, I'm prepared to recommend approval of this, subject to the condition of community planning.
Okay, thank you. Have a seconder, please?
I'll second that motion, Madam Chair.
Member M seconds it. All in favor of this motion? The motion is carried. Mr. Barton, your application has been approved, subject to condition of community planning report.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your patience. Okay. So we've now dealt with item number 19. We will now go to item number 21, 43 Bexhill Avenue. This is an application to construct a new story detached dwelling, and we have before us 11 variances. And we have listed, in terms of the interested parties to talk, the agent Abdul Momen. Abdul Momen, are you online with us? No. Remember, we made a change. So on the notice for 43 Bexhill Avenue, we have Muhammad Abdul Momen. It's okay. Abdul Momen, are you online with us? Was he not online with us this morning?
He was not there.
He wasn't there?
Hello.
Hi. Is this Abdul Momen?
Yes.
Are you Abdul Momen or Faisal? Can you hear us, Faisal?
Hello.
We're unable to hear you properly. Could you check your devices or your Wi-Fi connection? Or if you're having trouble, you can just call in. You can call in at 416-915-6530. Access code is 133-061-6797. And I will repeat, this is an item 21 for 43 Bexhill Avenue. We have the agent listed as Muhammad Abdul Momen. So Abdul Momen, if you are listening to us, please dial in this number. We are about to hear your application.
Through the chair, I did receive an email earlier this morning indicating, this is for 43 Bexhill, that Fazal Ahmad is the agent for this, not Mr. Momen.
Oh, okay. Okay, so it's different than what's listed on the application, on the notice. Okay, so Faisal Ahmed, if you're listening to us, please dial in. We would like to discuss the application at 43 Bexhill Avenue.
Through you, Madam Chair, we can still hear the application, right? Even though there's...
I guess we can start the deliberation or the discussion on the application. And if we have any questions for Faisal, then I hope he can get connected soon and we can ask those questions. So committee members, while we hope that Faisal connects with us, would you want to start the discussion on the application and talk about the variances? Any questions? We have before us 11 variances.
In my opinion, I think that there are questions of clarification that we need, and without the applicant being able to participate, I'm thinking we should defer this.
Through the chair, if you can give us 1 moment here.
Because he's an agent on both the applications, we want to give a few moments before we decide. Sure. Okay. Okay. Let's do this, Faisal. If you're listening to us, we will take a 5-minute break to allow you some time to connect. Thank you. Call again? I can see his name on the screen. It pops up speaking Faisal Ahmed. So Faisal, I guess you can hear us, but we can't hear you. So there's some difficulty in connecting right now. Are you recommending, Colin, that he calls in again? Yeah, call in from a different number. Okay, so how about this? Do you want to call in from a different number and try that?
to see opportunities.
Really?
जब ये सारे रेफ्यूजीज थे तो यहाँ से जिसने कम्युनिटी में एड जमा की थी फिर उसका मैंने प्रोजेक्ट बनाया पैसे जमा किए फिर सीरिया में जाके हॉस्पिटल बनाए और उसका लीडिंग रोल जो था वो नगेट मस्जिद के पास था तो आई वाज द मेन
प्रोजेक्ट मैनेजर था ओह वाओ बहुत बुरे हालात थे
उस वक्त जाके हमने डिलीवर की जहाँ बॉम्बिंग हो रही थी और लड़ रहे थे खैर मेरी तो टीम वहाँ थी आई यूज्ड टू गो देयर एंड चेक लेकिन मैं एक हफ्ता वहाँ उस वक्त रहा जब दिन रात वहाँ पे शेलिंग हो रही मैं निकलो यहाँ से
It's tragic, very tragic.
आज की अच्छी रही हमारी दो एक तो बैंक पर जू अच्छा जू वाली का पता है क्या उसमें मेरा ओपिनियन एक तो आई एग्री विद यू वो जो उन्होंने कहा वो है ना कि अगले स्टेज पे जाके इनको बुक कर दिया जाएगा जहाँ भी इस वी आर नॉट कंसर्न लेकिन उसने औरत ने हमें इसलिए तंग किया कि बिकॉज शी हैव नो क्लू व्हाट शी डूइंग उसके पास कोई बिजनेस एक होता है ना रोड मैप जो होता है बंदा
उससे हमें क्या दिलचस्पी है
नहीं वो तो नहीं है लेकिन उसने शो ही नहीं किया कुछ
But हमें is it important for us to make a decision like what आपको remember you have to make a decision on what is
in front of us वही ना
और वो हमारे मैंडेट में नहीं है कि दूसरी मिनिस्ट्रीज क्या करती हैं और उनकी क्या रिक्वायरमेंट है वो हमारी मैंडेट में नहीं है
लेकिन है ना मैं सिर्फ फॉर माय अंडरस्टैंडिंग ये नहीं सिर्फ मैं
अंडरस्टैंड
कह रहा हूँ उस और जिसने भी वो केस प्रेजेंटर जो था ठीक है
ओनर थी वो
जो भी ओनर है ये जो भी है उसको थोड़ी सा करना मतलब उनको प्रेजेंट इस तरह करना चाहिए था कि हमारे पास प्लान लाइसेंसिंग है अप्रूवल्स है ठीक है हमारा कंसर्न नहीं है उससे वी आर नॉट गोइंग टू चेक दैट वी आर नॉट गोइंग टू वेरीफाई दैट बट लेकिन इस तरह भी नहीं कि जी बस मुझे आपके अप्रूवल
सॉरी
Test.
We're kind of stranded here, right?
Testing. Hi there, Faisal. This is the Committee of Adjustment. We're still having technical issues. What we're going to do is we're going to end the WebEx event. So if you don't mind, just hang by your computer and try signing in again in about 5 minutes, and we're going to try this again. So if you can hear me, we're going to end the WebEx meeting and we're going to restart it. Give us about 5 minutes, and then you can sign back in again. Thanks.
Enter the event panelist numeric password, followed by pound.
Hello, Fazil. Can you hear us? Can you talk? I hear something. Can you talk back? It's Colin. Hello? Fazil?
Testing. Okay.
Hello. Hello. Yes, Brent. Yes. Okay. I tried to log in. I'm. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Actually,
Faisal, can you hear us? Hello, Faisal, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Thank you.
Sorry
So
about that.
I guess we can start with this item now.
Do I need to?
I suggest you turn off all your other devices.
The WebEx?
The WebEx? I don't know about the WebEx.
Sorry, what was that? So,
Screen, I can see you guys.
so whatever you're doing, just keep on doing it. Just mute all your other devices.
Okay. No, I don't have.
Just unmute the device that you're speaking from. Unmute everything else.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Sorry, mute everything else. Okay. Okay, we're good?
Yes. Yes.
Perfect. Okay. So thank you, Faisal, for your cooperation on this. We were having a little difficulty in connecting. Okay. So 43 Bexhill Avenue, we have your application to construct a new story detached dwelling, and we have before us 11 variances. In the interest of time,
Yeah.
go ahead. In the interest of time, I would request committee members to start asking the questions if they have any, or would you like to have a presentation?
I think question is okay.
I would like to hear from the committee.
Okay, that's fair. Okay, so so I did ask the committee, and committee will like to start asking you questions. So committee members, questions for Faisal?
Sure.
Just a question of clarification. There are 2 front balconies and 1 rear yard balcony. So I'm just wanting to clarify that variance number 10, is that in relation to the ground floor balcony at the front or at the back of the dwelling?
Just 1 second. I can see on my latest notice that I have 9 variances.
You actually have 11 variances, sir.
Okay, just 1 second. Sorry. Just 1 second.
So I think Amy's question relates to variance number 10.
Okay, just give me 1.
Sure.
The reason why I ask is because I would feel like there might be an additional variance that's required for the rear deck. Because if the requirement is 4 square meters, it looks like the rear deck in the back may be larger than that. So I'm just trying to understand which deck the variance number 10 is for. And if it is for the front ground floor deck, well, what about the back?
Okay, rear, we have a deck, like above, like on the ground. I mean, well, it's a rear deck is a deck. I mean, not the balcony.
So Faisal, if I can clarify, can you tell us
Yes.
your variance number 10, which balcony or deck does this pertain to?
Madam Chair, I mean, I'm a bit confused because on the notice I sent to the email, I opened it and I can see 9 variances. That's why I'm being confused. I mean,
Which one are you looking at? Are you looking at 43 Bexhill Avenue? Notice?
yes.
Okay.
It was issued on 12 March.
Issued on 12th March? No, this is issued on June 30th.
Okay, sorry. But then,
This is a public hearing notice that we have before us dated June 30th, and it lists 11 variances.
okay, sorry. Can you clarify the question again? Sorry about that.
Okay.
The confusion.
No problem. So we have 11 variances. Variance number 10 is for a balcony, and it says that the maximum permitted area of a balcony is 4 square meters. The proposed ground floor balcony will have an area of 5.33 square meters, and the proposed upper floor balcony will have an area of 5.36 square meters. So the question is, which floor balconies or which balconies are these? Are they at the front or at the back?
One is at the back and one is at the front.
Okay, so the ground floor, which is it, at the front or the back?
No, ground floor is at the back.
Okay, so confirming that the ground floor balcony, which is being proposed at a size of 5.33 square meters, is at the back. Now, the proposed upper floor balcony, which is being proposed at 5.36, is it at the back or the front?
It's at the front.
Okay.
So then, because this is my question, the ground floor balcony at the front complies. That's what I'm trying to understand here?
Okay.
Not okay, yes it does or no it doesn't.
I understand your question, yeah. Sorry about that. The ground floor balcony is 1.22 times 4.37. No, it doesn't comply. It's in variance, I think.
So then essentially you need an additional variance then for that ground floor balcony, correct? Okay, let me start again. You have three balconies in your proposal, okay? You have three balconies in your proposal. One is in the rear, and then two are in the front. The two in the front, the one that's on the second story, I understand because it's clearly labeled as second story balcony. However, there are two balconies that are at grade, and I was not able to decipher through the notice which balcony number 10 pertains to. So that is why I asked you the question of clarification, in which you did a calculation saying that now both balconies need a variance. So that would mean you would need to revise variance number 10 to include an additional line to speak towards the balcony at the first floor at the front as well.
Or revise your plans to bring your lower balcony in compliance with the zoning bylaw regulation.
Okay, I mean, to avoid further committee of adjustment hearing or further zoning notice, if I reduce that to 4 square meters, is that okay? Because it will be very difficult for us to go back to committee of adjustment again. So is that okay?
So that's the front one. We just have to be very, very clear as to the language of the variance. So you're proposing the front at grade balcony to be reduced to comply with the 4-meter requirement. And then you would continue with the 5.36 square meter variance for the rear deck, correct?
Right.
Okay, thank you.
The front one, just to clarify again, sorry about that, just the front one, which is with the ground living room label, we'd like to just comply with the...
Okay, I'm satisfied. I needed that clarification. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks.
So basically, there's no changes to the variances today. What we have before us, we'll make a decision on that. Whatever else does not comply, you will have to come back to the committee. If you do not want to come back to the committee, then you will have to make sure that you comply with the zoning requirement, okay? And regardless of whichever balcony that will be, okay. So, member M, we're clear on the location of the balconies now? Okay, all right. So, any further questions for Faisal on this application?
No, I'm fine, as long as you're okay.
No, I'm asking the committee members.
Faisal, can I ask you about the building height? It's a 3-story building, right?
No, it's actually it looks like 3-story, but it's not 3-story. We are using the floor, small, like above the garage, the single garage. We are using that floor. That's why it looks like 3-story. Basically, it's not, because it's a ground floor. Then we are few steps up towards the living room level above the garage, and that garage, that floor, small floor, and the ground floor has the same ceiling.
But the building height is 8.98 meter, right, with a flat roof?
That's correct.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, how you compare it with the adjacent building, the next neighbor building height?
What's the height of the building?
I need to check. I cannot remember.
I'm talking about the street culture, or if not the street culture, I'm just concerned about this much height for the neighbors.
So
Is that have any
plan? If you look at plan, Mohammed, there's a 1.5-story dwelling on the north side, and there's a 1-story dwelling on the south side. So that would give you sort of the character of the street. They're asking, what Faisal is asking for a dwelling which meets the height regulation, but because of the grade, the lower story is being constituted as a story, so that's why the variance before us is to allow 3 stories as opposed to permitted 2 stories. Because the grade is raised at that location,
Actually, you're incorrect, Madam Chair. Sorry, he is asking for relief for height for the building.
For the main wall.
No, variance number 4.
Oh, there's-
Maximum permitted height of the building for a flat roof is 7.2, and he's asking for 0.98.
Oh, my apologies then. So there is a,
So there is a request for increased height.
okay, so I take my words back. There is a request for increase in height from 7.2 to 8.98.
Yes. I understand when you are saying about the neighbors, like the neighborhood building height. There is other also the people are already built new houses there, because most of the houses are old there, and most of the people are gradually they're demolishing their old houses and they're building new houses. Already there are many new built houses there. So when we build our house, this one, it won't be something different than the new changed neighborhood. And and also they have some two-story buildings, I think. Those are more than those are close to 9 meters, which is more than this one, the proposed building.
Okay, Faisal, thank you. I don't see any opposition there, and you are lucky because there is no, but still, like, I just wanted to know, like, is the neighbors are okay? Have you consulted the neighbors on this development?
Yes, I believe I know that the owner, they know the neighbors very well. They have spoken to the neighbors and they have good relations. So that I heard from the owner.
Okay, thank you.
I personally didn't speak to anybody, but the neighbor did.
Okay, thank you, Faisal. Members of committee, any more questions? Member Macaulay, you're good? Okay, so there are no further questions on this application. And Faisal, I just want to double check, are there any conditions? Okay.
Forestry condition, and we already processed the application.
Okay, so there are 2 conditions from urban forestry. Okay. So members of committee, if there are no further questions, can I please have a motion?
I put forward a motion of approval subject to the urban forestry conditions.
Have a seconder, please.
I will second that.
Member Macaulay seconds the motion. All in favor of this motion? Motion's carried. Your application has been approved subject to conditions of urban forestry.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Madam
Okay.
Chair, and everybody.
And please stay on the line. Don't leave. You have another.
Sure.
You have another application.
Yes, I do.
No. Okay. Okay, so Faisal, and for others who are listening, Member M has to leave. There's something urgent that she has to attend to, so that leaves us with Member Macaulay, Mohammed Said, and myself. So item number 22. We have before us an application on Pharmacy Avenue for 580A and 580B. This is an application to permit additional variances for dwellings that are currently under construction. And we have before us 2 variances for each of those properties. Before I dive in, Faisal, would you like to say anything, or would you just want to hear what our questions are? Okay.
I'm fine.
Okay, members of the committee, any questions on this application for Faisal? Yep. Member Macaulay has some questions.
Yes, Madam Chairman. This is an application for an increase in lot coverage, both for 580A and 580B. So in both cases, you're asking for an increase in lot coverage. A year ago, you got an increase in lot coverage to 48.74%. Why the change?
They wanted to just take a small part, the corner, rear corner, just a small portion. They wanted to increase to make it a straight line of the house, of the rear wall, to make it straight.
And when you say they wanted to
Just
change,
on the corner.
okay, when you say they wanted to change, we're talking about the same owner owns both of these houses?
Yes, same owner.
And are both of these houses then for sale?
Sorry, second?
are both of these houses for sale, or is the owner?
Oh, no, sorry. Sorry, I answered wrong. So the two houses has two different owners, and they will be living there.
Okay, and so both of those owners wanted
Yes.
the units to be bigger.
Yes, and because the builder is same. So one same builder is building both houses, and both owners they like requesting the small portion of the back. There was a L shape, so they wanted to make it straight to just get that small portion of the area.
So they're filling in the notch.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. I have no more questions.
Thank you.
Okay, any further questions? And Faisal, you are aware of the urban forestry conditions?
Yes, we have the clearance already.
Okay, thank you. So if there are no further questions on this application, can I please have a motion on this?
Madam Chair, I would move motion for approval of this application, subject to the urban forestry conditions.
Have a seconder, please. Member Macaulay seconds it. All in favor of this motion? Motion's carried. Your application has been approved, subject to conditions of urban forestry. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.
Take care.
Thank you. Take care. Bye.
So this brings us to the end of the agenda. Is there any other business that we have on the agenda?
No, there's not.
And I guess this is for information only. There were no appeals from Toronto Local Appeal Body. And the next date of hearing is July 23rd.
That's correct.
Okay, and we can adjourn the meeting. We have a motion to adjourn the meeting? Motions? Okay, the meeting has been adjourned. Thank you, everyone.